Welcome back to another lesson with me, Mr. B. For the next few lessons, we're going to read a few short stories from Melissa Perla's Mumog. So over on Google Classroom under the Classwork tab, you're going to find the next 4 lessons listed right here. Rinse Your Mouth, The Amazing Philippines, Making Sense of Things, and Her Ugly Nose. When you open the assignment, you'll find the instructions that'll ask you to read the corresponding story on the given page and annotate 4 specific details. So for example, in this one right over here, it says, as you're reading Rinse Your Mouth, find 2 examples of any critical concepts, which are the I's of oppression, ideological, institutional, interpersonal, and internalized, sub-oppression, or the master and counter narrative. Then if you saw at the bottom, there is a part 2 with the 6 stages of a narrative. What are the 6 stages of the narrative in this story? So for the first section, or question number 1, if you will, you're going to use this chart to keep track of your examples, your analysis, and then any other annotations that you have. And this last one is optional, as it says right there. So in this first column, you're going to list the page number in which you found your example or your evidence. Then you're going to list which critical concept it relates to or literary device if the instructions ask you to do so. So sometimes, like it says in the example here, what point of view did you find? What sensory details are they? But in my example here, I listed on page 2 for Melissa Perla, just citing who the author is, and I wrote internalized oppression. So the passage reads, there were stories about not quite fitting in because of the foods you eat or the languages your relatives speak or even your name. And in my analysis column, I wrote, Funny in Farsi represents the counter-narrative and inspires Melissa to explore those parts of her identity. This analysis helps show how the lack of culture or peer pressure to be knowledgeable of your culture leads to internalized oppression. And then the last column for questions or other annotations, which is optional, you might ask some questions or state some comments. Like it says here, what about these stories made the author also want to write about her growing up as a Filipino American? Or I might even state, wow, I also read Funny in Farsi when I was in high school and felt a similar way about the author's work and short stories about food or culture, etc. So below, you're going to structure your 2, like it says here, 2 examples and just type them in accordingly into these rows. And then again in question number 2 or section number 2 of 6 stages of a narrative, here you're going to plot out the story of exposition, rising action, conflict, climax, falling action, and resolution. You do not have to find evidence for this section. You can just simply say, Rinse Your Mouth takes place in a classroom, and then go on from there. List out the rising action, the problem, conflict, etc. And as a friendly reminder, you can find access to the short stories via PDF right over here in the assignment. And there is also an audio version of the readings for you to listen to and read along, should you choose to do so. Refer to this video on the instructions if something about this wasn't clear. And if you need help, try to ask 3 other students before you come asking me. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.